After 500 years of reincarnation, he blames his weak body for being weak, while he regrets not having a cheat skill. Suddenly, his counterattack system activates. Jiang, with the age of 518, looks at the system. It will help the host defeat all who look down on him by increasing his power. And that's it for the intro. In this video, we have used a different narrative style. Enjoy the video. A figure sleeping in the dark room with a dim light coming out from the window. The figure opens his sleepy eyes with shameful thoughts about his dream never fulfilling. He slowly realizes that he is reincarnated, and shows his beautiful blue eyes with long lashes. A figure traditionally dressed appears, claiming it took him 500 years to reach the peak, the Grand Ascension stage. A figure named Jiang came across the sky with hundreds of people waiting for him to come down. The sky is full of clouds, bunch of people facing Jiang. One of the villagers says, "It is about to start," while another talks it out loud. Jiang is going through the immortality tribulation. A man wonders if the immortal ladder appears this time. A darkness surrounds everywhere and the scene seems like it is about to get rain with strong thunderstorms. There comes Jiang with storms full of power, bringing huge explosions all around the river. Smoke and fire appear along with the eruptions. A silent mode begins and a figure behind the foggy clouds. Jiang starts to appear, slowly making it through the fog and standing as a powerful. People waiting for him claim the ladder didn't appear once again. Another says this is already the 15th time Jiang has gone through tribulation. A figure asking if ascending to the immortal realm is even possible. Replying to him, an old man shouts out loud with a furious expression, "Definitely, as per those who have been an immortal ladder." The old man adds that long ago the ascension of numerous cultivators was commonplace. Showcases a long ladder with a fire that has to be survived through tribulation, then a ladder from the immortal realm will come down to greet you. The old man continues with a question, saying the ladder doesn't show up now, and the road to immortality is blocked without it. Jiang still stays in the sky, asking himself if he is not even enabled to go into this world of cultivation, shaming himself. With a heavy heart and much pain, Jiang says, "I have no cheating skills and everything depends on his skills and luck to overcome the obstacles." He realizes he has cheat skills, things would have worked better and earlier. With sadness on his face, he realizes whenever the difficulties, it's his own faith. All of a sudden, a counterback system activates. Jiang sees with wide open eyes his name written on the system. Following his age was claimed to be 518 and identity as current sovereignty. Li sees the cultivation as the Grand Ascension stage. Jiang keeps on thinking and realizes this is too late to appear. The system introduces itself as the counterattack system and will assist the host to fight against all who look to underestimate him. Li, wondering counterback system, asked him to accept the newbie package. Li accepts the package and looks over the package where it is written, named Top Grade Chi Gathering Pill, Quantity 10, which claims it is highly effective for the QI cultivated stage. Li reads all the details and the system claims his current points 0. Jiang looked at books wondering about Qi cultivation and asked the system about his current cultivation stage. He was surprised and asked if this newbie package was for sure for him or if he had granted it by mistake. Li asked the system if he rather should be getting the package of the Grand Ascension stage. The system inspects the claims, there are no mistakes. Li again asked about his cultivation stage. The system replies Grand Ascension stage. Li angrily asks what stage of newbie should be getting the package. In the QI cultivation stage, the system says. Li again queries if it was given to him by mistake. The system refused to make any mistake and Jiang realizes that the mission can't be refused or evaded now. The system appears with an announcement saying the host will not be allowed to enable the remaining functions of the system as a penalty. The system functions include storing spiritual QI infusion, and inner demon evasion teleportation. Li Jiang asked teleportation. The system explains the newbie's mission. Jiang Yixing depends on his status as the clan's eldest son who has bullied the host several times. Jiang realizes the name and says he remembers him from where he has arrived. A figure appears indicating the original body of Jiang, who was born into Jiang's family as the son of a patriarchal family. Unfortunately, his parents were no more. Jiang Yixing just depends upon his father's influence to become patriarch, being the most talented of his group to bully others, mostly Jiang. A bloody body of Jiang screams, claiming the owner of the body was a coward who had to resolutely under Yixing's cruelty. Jiang's resonance showcases and Li realizes he was reincarnated to this body. He realizes the situation he is in and leaves the place. Li realizes that Yixing's talent will only take him to the foundation stage, which is 140 years. With a thoughtful expression, He thinks by the time being Yixing must be deceased. Li deeps down into extreme thoughts, admitting as a newbie he can never complete the mission. Asking a question to the system, which era is this? The system replies 4300 Flem calendar. With a questionable face he again asks, is it TS 4800th year of flame calendar now? Then he connects the dots as to why this is called a counterattack system. In a fit of anger, Li insists that the system should have appeared 500,000 years ago. Jiang wondering about the era, system replies 4300 of the flame era. Li is not surprised to know why the system is called a counterattack system, which should have been activated 500 years ago. Furious about the time and the mission, Jiang expressed to change the mission. The system replies mission can't be changed and Li somehow should cooperate with things. Sadness of being in the Ascension stage, Jiang is not ready to fight with the Jiang Yixing and calls it a counterattack system. Jiang asks to restart the system aggressively. The system asks him to complete the mission. Meanwhile, Jiang is fading up with the system. Jiang is annoyed by calling it a counterattack and asks whom he is fighting with. Another hope arises if there's any other option in the system with the chance of sending him to the immortal realm, including a teleportation function. The system claims to unlock the teleportation function to the immortal realm in the future. Exciting. Jiang expects a goldfielder to be sent. The system reclaims to complete the novice system. Jiang hopes to send the immortal realm first and fight with Jiang Yixing in another world. With a tired face, Jiang asked if something else could work instead of completing the first mission. Annoyingly, he claims the system to be lousy and wants to go back home. Question himself if Jiang Yixing is still alive, consuming a longevity pill, or may be blessed by an expert. Goes above the sky and realizes depending on his efforts and cultivation, expecting help from heaven's spiritual roots and getting through the grand ascension stage. A big house with a clear sky is showcased. A door is named after the Qing city Jiang family. Essence sticks burned inside the house. Standing along with other figures, Jiang whispers he is dead. Stands in dilemma regarding his next step, and is surprised if he should fight with someone else who is also named Jiang Yixing. Questions himself if he should insist someone else change their name or find the tomb of Jiang Yixing. Looks at the old man and continues to think. Goes into deep thought and claims the old man's resemblance to Jiang Yixing. Idiotly thinks of taking revenge on the old man, which will eventually count as beating Jiang Yixing. A huge statue of Emperor Jiangli is surrounded by houses, scattered by multiple figures. People witness the statue closely. A figure worshipping the statue and asking for the strength to break through the cultivation bottleneck soon. A father urges his child to pray to Emperor Jiang and gets some spiritual aura from the emperor. A kid questions who Emperor Jiang is, and the father recalls the story from 9 provinces. The duties of Emperor Jiang are meditating between powers and saving the lives of the innocents. Continuing the story, the emperor can turn mountains and seas with a single thought and could destroy everything in its path across the land. When one of the emperors passed and couldn't decide one's when, war started. War affected half of the 9 provinces, and anyone willing to help was taken out by both parties. Silently, Emperor Jiangli appears carrying the wishes of the people and killing the ancient lords and imperial family. Then only, victory was celebrated. Father continues the story stating that Emperor Jiangli was kind but powerful. The emperor never misled his power but let other countries develop and expand and continued to save his 9 provinces. Enjoying the candied sticks, Li wonders if this is just the case and thinks it is not fair to be charged up every time. Persisting to think, every cultivator has a different reason to follow after immortality. However, another side is strength and fighting spirit. Speaks to himself, that's not how it works all the time. There should be a path for cultivators fighting. Realizes, that's the reason why first-generation emperors set down the policy. Imagines the temples and the emperor. Acknowledging the emperor allows the imperial families to thrive independently. Several geniuses were emerging in all 9 provinces. A strong foundation was built on the continent of 9 provinces with small kingdoms. Some of the great dynasties survived, including the Great Zhou dynasty. Li comes to reality, and Jiang realizes, the city is thriving. All of a sudden the state of Emperor Jiangli starts to emit the power and turns green. Li learns the power of faith will be no useful if he can make it out of the ascension stage. With sadness on his face, Li acknowledges to come very far from storing the power and leaving it to another generation. Jiang asks for 2 more candied sticks from the seller. A bunch of people shouting to lack help from the city lord. Another figure angrily wants to meet the city lord to stop the people who are trafficking humans. Li Jiang quietly understands what's going on. Multiple figures ask Lord City to appear and look for their children. Jiang silently notices all the things happening around him. An angry man opens the door shouting at the bunch of people for creating a fuss. A man clears out being busy and challenging to handle all of them in the situation that was happening. Someone angrily asks the man if he's helping or not. Li asks about the situation going on with the man and about the people from nearby cities. The figures reply, people being those who have lost their children and are in search of them. Li with much angry expression asks if Jiang's family worship is as important as saving someone's life. The figures surprisingly ask Li to talk down slowly and where he is from. The figures advise Li that he should get involved in things that are beyond his abilities, explaining it's not his cup of tea. With a side eye, Li passes an awful expression. The figure notices Li's rings, mentioning this is not the tying average person would typically wear. Li shows the DOA sect token with his name, causing the figure to react with surprise or shock. The figures express to meet the sect master himself with the sect token, passes the shocked reaction over his name, and says he has never heard it before. The figures beg Li to help him. Instead, he will explain everything to him. Takes Li to the side and asks him to have a conversation privately. A figure introduces himself as Yuan Wuxing, a cultivator trying to help those people who are seeking help. Shocked to witness Li, Yuan shares. Yuan says he is in search of missing children, claiming their trails lead to the Qing city. Yuan exposed that such dissidents had been happening for 2 centuries in the Qing and the nearby cities. Continuing the conversation, the disappearance mostly happens from the Jiang family's ancestral worship. Li looks serious after hearing the missing babies are less than a year. Li shockingly asked if he talking seriously, if those babies were being taken away. Yuan denies saying it to Professor. Self-talk. Li claims the city lords are turning blind. Facing Li, Yuan reveals Jiang's family to back up the emperor. The conversation becomes serious, and Yuan suggests extending the Qing city's influence throughout the entire Great Zhou city. Li replies, this is the Great Zhou dynasty. A scroll with stones appears, mentions the Zhou dynasty has something special among the 9 dynasties. Zhou dynasty successfully managed the nation's destiny. A shadowy figure warns that if the ruler doesn't punish lawbreakers, the nation's future will be in jeopardy. The consequence will be the downfall of the monarch. Yuan tiredly states that your words may have influence elsewhere, but not in the Jiang family. Yuan says Emperor Jiang is selfless, but doubts if he'll act the same when it concerns his own family. Yuan wonders if Emperor Jiang would be okay with it if the Jiang family dares to do such a thing. Li adds to the conversion, Jiang left the family 500 years ago and never returned home. Yuan says he might take the step to build his selfless image. Yuan says that blood relations are strong and suspects Emperor Jiang may have returned home occasionally. Li addresses do not have enough proof. Yuan responds that they must find the missing people, whether alive or dead, to gather solid evidence. Yuan imagines the young baby and asks painfully if the children are dead. Many children have been missing, and it seems challenging to find them all. Li sees furiously and agrees there is no proof. The emperor's statue appears with a clear sky. It's not fine to allege the innocent one. A sunny sky shows up with bright sunlight. From the sky, Li sees the kingdom. With a spark in his eye, Li confesses that he can expand his awareness across the region to locate people. Li generates his power to see what happened across the region. Waves ripple everywhere, and Li realizes that things are not going well. The sky displays a beautiful sunset with clear clouds. There comes a space distortion. Li sees it in the Jiang residence's backyard and claims spatial nodes hidden there. Unless the node is across the space, it is believed to be an individual. The old man from the Ansuro Gaul appears. All of a sudden, the man slowly gets inside the Jiang family residence. Li gets down to the residence's backyard. Witness something unusual smell from inside the residence. Open the door of the residence and follow the unusual path covered with blood and dead bodies. Li sees the dead bodies of newborn babies covered with blood and wounds. With mixed emotions, Li claims this to be a taboo in the cultivation world. Talks to himself, if he could have saved few babies. With sadness in his eyes, Li says, that's my responsibility for not coming back in 500 years. Showcasing the Jiang family residence. Yuan and the old man face, and ask if something is wrong. Angrily, Yuan asked the old man if he had already accomplished the change towards the immorality. The old man replies achieving immorality is not everyone's cup of tea and demands more babies. Yuan revealed the commotion in Qing City over missing children. He was exposed to being suspicious about the missing kids. Old man with a psychotic expression wants the incorrect to be used as sacrifices. Lu appears and says what if the old man should also reunite with his parents. Old man shouts, Who are you? A hand grasping potent energy, straight from Li. The hand gets even nearer to the face of the old man. A big sound of explosion from the Jiang family residence. The system arrived with the notification of the mission complete. Smoke and explosions all over the kingdom with major destruction. The old man in a painful voice admits Li's strength. Yuan, from the sidelines, vanquished a nascent soul stage ancestor. People with startled expressions rushed to see if it was an earthquake or something else. The old man with wounds on his face is revealed to be the older cousin of Emperor Jiang. Li asks isn't he is supposed to die. A powerful stone with smoke, an old man sitting behind, shows the memorial tablet with the name Jiang. Li questions how he is still alive. Connect the dots. Li realizes how he managed to live up to this point by killing those babies. The old man dares him to touch. Being the older cousin of Emperor Jiang, Li disappointedly claims Lord City and higher officials remain silent. The old man benefits from the status belonging to the Jiang family. Additionally, his activities and cruelty will not be counted. Thus he remains untouchable. Li desperately wants to know if the Great Zhou Empire's monarch Ji wants to touch him. Li calls the monarch Ji Zhou to watch from the other side. Half of the residence territory collapsed due to the explosion. Li says he wants to show the hidden secret of the Jiang residence. Many people arrive at the residence, see skeletons and bodies, and pass shocking reactions. People acknowledge the bones to be of those missing kids whose parents were protesting. The monarch of Zhou was disgraced for such cruelty happening in the residence. Li reveals not being involved in the family matter for 500 years. Li and the monarch of Zhou standing together. Li accepts his name as being used in the crimes that are happening lately. Old man was shocked to hear spells. His Majesty Jiangli. People get down to their knees admitting the Emperor Li's Majesty. Yuan asked about the Dua sect token. The old man begged Li and monarch saying he didn't kill the babies. Li brought the brother Ji. Yuan shockingly asked about the plan regarding the time cultivated by the Great Zhou imperial family. Moreover, the monarch is known for his unwavering adherence to laws. Blindly loyal subordinates follow the dark path of their master. Monarch agrees to enter the river and knows everything. Shows the deadliest picture of the old man. Monarch decides to execute him as per the law. The imperial family of Great Zhou could track the river of time and know everything. Monarch performing his skills. Some powerful actions begin, and people around are surprised. Slowly gets faded. There comes a monarch performing his skills with his hands. A picture shaped like an eye begins to appear. The picture shows the old man harming the newborn baby. Blood around it. Monarch asked if the one who cultivates the demonic Tao will be punished. Demands, the old man, Jiang, to be punished in the heavenly prison. Negligence the duties of city lords and officials will be apprehended, he added. Li asked Yixing about the idea of killing the babies. Again questions, how he knew the power of faith dispels the baby's resentment. Yixing opens his mouth slowly. Jiang is for sure powerful and he is one with average power and no heavenly spiritual roots nothing. Yixing accepts to die earlier in the foundation stage. Li shouts at him and stops him from acting dumb. Says, in the beginning of his journey spiritual root was concealed. People assumed he had the most unfortunate elements of punishment physics, showing his body. Li came so far to the Ascension stage, that he had to face a lot of life and death situations. Continue saying, not misusing his status, he was never bullied. Instead, Yixing did the opposite and killed the innocent souls. Yixing cries, shows his sorrow and guilt. Yixing states that all things started with a man in black 380 years ago. Imagine the past. He says he couldn't complete the level and waited to die. The man in black helped him to complete the foundation stage to the stage of core. There Yixing reveals that the man in black assisted him to sacrifice the babies. Returning from the mouth of the death, Yixing started valuing his life even more. Yixing accepts the method of sacrificing, showing he is worried that this would reveal his secret. The man in black noticed his hesitation and talked about resentment of the power of faith. Staying on his knees, Yixing says he will never meet him again. Li thinks, if he hadn't reached the Ascension stage and needed faith, he would have no clue about Yixing's secret and it would have remained a secret for all the time. Keeps on digging into thoughts, was this planned? Or there was a deliberate plot against him? Realizes, 380 years ago, he was just a contender for the throne. Keeps on saying, the man in black had orchestrated plans against all potential heirs to the emperor. Li thought the mission to be simple and sordid. A kingdom stood under the vast blue sky, adorned with fluffy white clouds. Elder Ji and Li discuss the 380-year-old man in the black. Claims, it's beyond his skill to trace that far. Li talks about Elder Ji being commendable and explains his kindness and respectfulness towards laws. Added to the conversion, Elder Ji values their relationship of friendship. Elder Ji replies, say what you want to say. With a funny reaction, Li tells Ji to refuse to practice and waste the dual pupil's talent. Adds, 80 years could be burned burn through all your lifespan. Ji handedly this time and gave it a try. Li seems happy to take the responsibility, although the path is purely about enlightenment. I tried but failed to learn. Li says that the dual pupil is a symbol mostly acquired by the founding emperor. It's the key to mastering the path of time. Ji agrees with Li and says initially Emperor Shun was a fish in the river. Then, by chance leaped out of the river of time. Continuing to explain, Shun then transformed into a human and built the foundation of Great Zhou in all 9 provinces. Descendants of the Great Zhou rally and resonate with the path of time. Li gives a silly reaction, tells Ji to put more effort into his cultivation. Ji replies he will probably do so if nothing else is left to do. A dark room appears with a dim light shining. A figure lies down, adorned with the most beautiful neckline and jewelry. Another male character is amazed by her beauty. Several thoughts of being her lover. A clear sky with fluffy clouds. Li sees a system with a notification of completing the earlier mission. The system asks if he could claim the reward. Surprised, Li asks reward. Questions the system is talking about tough cultivation and fierce battle. Get to feel the power. The reactions are shocking, even as much as what I get from a single breath. He realizes this is what he gets in the QI cultivation stage. He hands over the power and wishes he had it back then when he was establishing the foundation. Imagines to reach the perfection realm, a privilege possessed only by core disciples of major sects. Keeps aside the power thinking he could pass. He asks himself, who wouldn't want to cultivate POW? Wants to survey the other rewards. Sees Dragon Tiger Arhat Force, a body cultivation technique, a mid-grade spirit sword. Touched the thing on his finger. Something was blinking. 2 bags appear, a useless beginner gift pack number 1. And a useless item from the system. A system brought a new mission. Notifications come about the new mission. However, the mission could be declined. Information about rewards, a chance for enlightenment, mysterious pieces of map, and more. Sees deeply to the second option. Li thinks it is interesting. Accepts the mission. The system appears to say, a new feature unlocked. Interestingly, the store, and seems happy about the new mission. Many scrolls about the information come all the way. Li hopes something exciting to come from the store like mobile phones, games, computers, and nuclear bombs, or anything unique from the immortal realm. Deep in thought, Li wishes to experience the resistance of a nuclear bomb rather than that of mobile phones. Ask the system if it could get anything else from the store. The system demands that he visit the other world first. Making a silly face, Li asks another useless feature. Questions. What's the need for this system if he could go to the other worlds? The system organizes necessary source points from highest to lowest. Li sees other items and notices the second one, the Yin-Yang Heaven Seal. Remember, it is the Taoist sect's treasure. Questions. How did Elder Bia's stuff end up here? Keep on thinking these items are not from here from anywhere, which is stolen. Li asks to close the store and focus on the mission. Li urged Talesman to contact the Imperial Palace. Wonders if someone is looking for him after his tribulation. Calls Imperial Palace leader, Jiang Kogu. Jiang shouts and says he is about to contact him and notify him about the trouble. Jiang is amazed to see Zhang's swollen face and asks what's wrong with it. Describes Jiang Kogu as being powerful to stand against Tribulation Passer with an amazing body. Shockingly asked who could injure him. Li asks if he had another fight with his wife. Kogu replies no. Again asking if it is a demon invasion, furiously replies no. Li questions if Budamayu was invited for pork stew noodles, and angrily denies it. Jiang, with a painful request to Jiang Li to stop the guessing game, talks about the luck Li has. Jiang mentions there's a fight coming up, focused on beauty. Li calls Jiang Konghu from the Imperial Palace. With a swollen face, Jiang shouts he is about to call Li. Cream's big trouble. Jiang seriously says a fight is about to begin and it involves beauty. Li seems surprised to know that. Asks again, a fight that involves beauty. Li again questions how that can be the problem. Talk about the past details of the emperor of the Ming Jiang dynasty. Jiang reveals that the secret beauty was kept hidden in the golden house and abandoned to see her. With doubtful thoughts, Jiang neglects his duties for random beauty. In all common occurrences, no one is in the Imperial Palace's jurisdiction. Li sadly says, what if all the emperor neglects their responsibilities? The Imperial Palace might interlope. Think it's better to merge everything and unify the 9 provinces directly. Jiang tells the Mengjiang emperor that he ignores the concubine and doesn't take care of her properly. After coming out of seclusion, the Wei Emperor visited the Golden House to personally see the Mengjiang Emperor, whom he was close to. Jiang claims from where the trouble started. Li remembers the Wei Emperor as having amazing taste in the beauties and wants the Mengjiang Emperor's concubine. The conversation continues. Li asks if the Mengjiang Emperor refused to happen so. Jiang replies, yes. The Wei Emperor and Mengjiang Emperor have disputes over the matters. Jiang revealed the destruction of half of the palace. Li asks so. You mean this is what a fight over beauty means? Complaints about the miscommunication Jiang created. Pokes Jiang if he should hire him as a tutor. He thinks deeply and realizes that the two dynasties are fighting each other. Li thinks an attack means there are millions of troops, maybe even more. The 9 provinces' armies have millions of chi conceding, foundation building. There is a huge difference in the armies of Li's time, he thinks. Compares the fight to the World War II image of the rivals' bullets and missiles. Li thinks about the fight, creates his war in mind, and worries about the destruction due to the fight. Li insists on going and trying to solve the fight and bring peace to the emperor. Li is all the way set to face the armies but hesitates about his strength. Remembered asking Jiang about his injuries. Jiang refused to mediate upon hearing of the emperor and realized his duty to maintain the non-provinces. Jiang is enchanted after seeing the concubine, compares her with the fairies, and gets lost in his beauty. He considers making her his lover and wants her to be exclusively his, denying anyone else the chance to have her. Snag loses his control and took her right away. Snag beats himself to keep the things normal. We suppose this is not a small matter. Emperor Zhou is the enough for the two emperor, fighting over concubine without considering their duties. The impeccable character, Jiang is built different, capable to the leader of the imperial leader. Li is shocked to realize that a concubine has the ability to make Jiang lose control of himself. Wonders, something else is there. Li asks about the duel, knows it is happening in 2 days. Li asks him to keep eye on the emperor until he is heading to the palace. A full moon night with twinkling stars. Li travels half-day journey above the tress and houses. Figures, notices a fight. Wonders seeing 3 people involved in. Shouts out loud. Only the strong one deserved to have a beauties. Emperor's demands to listen him as it was the Mengjiang emperor. Li disappoints at other people to lost their control and not keeping eye on them. Li asks everyone to keep calm. Gives 2-3 punches. There was a loud explosion accompanied by storms and massive noises. 3 figures laying on the ground. Jiang becomes normal, realizes his status. Snag laughs at the punch Jiang Li gave to him, wonders if he also shattered his bones. Thankful for being rational, choose to fight in the sky to avoid destructions. Proudly say if the fight was done in the ground, Li's one slap would have been enough to take him straight to the underworld. Jiang laughs shamelessly while other praising Jiang Li. Li asks to see how the secret beauty looks like. Shows the path. Li enter the palace slowly. The secret is always sleeping. She doesn't wake up easily. A beautiful lady is sleeping, adorned with full jewelry and long hair flowing. Gets close to her, asks if she is the one. Li realized that he had seen her before or it was a portrait. Imagines the portrait, but classified as prohibited. Tells, the woman is supposed to be dead. Li realizes the sleeping beauty to be a portrait he has seen before. Ask if she is creating all the fights or if there is someone else who looks like her. Another shouts at Li and asks him not to stare much, claiming her to be his. Li drags the mortal through his collar and tells him to calm down. Struggles to breathe, asks him to let go. Wonder if Emperor Jiang didn't feel any seeing the sleeping beauty. Li admits the girl to be really beautiful. Questions arise. Is that all? Li expresses she is the most beautiful girl he has ever seen. Jiang and the mortals with shocking reactions praise his control over the beauty. Li asks where they found her. One of the mortals replies that he saw her during the western hunt in the jungle, amazed to see such beauty sleeping underneath the tree. Feels like such a mortal body is not able to touch her, and uses spiritual manipulation to bring her into the palace. Builds a golden house for her. Li wants to continue knowing about the matter. Li was captivated to visit the mortal paradise to know all the matter. Li commands the mortals and Jiang to look over the palace and let no one enter. Jiang Li doubts and forms the large foundation over the palace for safety purposes. Showcased his skills and formed the foundation. A powerful foundation covered the palace. Others remain studded. Shockingly, Snag questions when he learns that, asks he has given up in the formation stage. Jiang praises Li's cultivation and combat prowess but remains hopeless. Monarch claims Li is lacking in talent of formation. Li reminds him he is not learning anymore. Revealed he was learning it from Elder by his stash. Jiang shocked to know that stash. Clears throat. Li thanks to the jade piece bestowed upon him by the Dao Sect's master. Explains that in the 9 provinces, there are 2 major sectors, one being the compassionate Buddhist and the female moral paradise. Buddhists known for their world benefit merits, the moral paradise is not seen by anyone yet. Many legends surround it, and one of the legends speaks often and even captivates the Buddhist himself. Li is on the way to the immoral paradise. Li stops and informs he is visiting moral paradise, and asks for forgiveness. Something appears from the river in stone. 2 figures came out and shouted, Jiang Xian, which means pure heart. One named Saintess Jiang Xian. The girls ask Li if he is still carefree and as magnificent as ever. Li greets Saintess. Another figure appears and denies to entertain Li since it is presumptuous to visit. Saintess replies, Li has come to visit and we can't disappoint him. Li accepts the fact that even after many years Saintess is still very gentle. Master's angry reaction: control herself from being Jiang Li. Li says Saintess's cultivation and reputation are better than the Master's, wonders why she hasn't been selected as Master. Saintess reveals the title Saintess Jing Xian is very attractive. The current Master of the Immortal Imperial is Qing Yudao. Qing admired the monk from the mouth of Meru, but because of being impure, Saintess slaved him. Li reacts to Master picking the wrong guy and blaming him. Saintess clears: back in the say, Li was the one who saved the immortal tree which was on the brink of death. Master is about to get mad hearing Li's name once again. Master offered the bounty to save the trees and dealt to make choices from the sect's treasure trove. Li agrees to fulfill the promise. Master Qing allegedly took the trove keys and left the mountain to earn money. Li says it led to many touching love stories and asks if she should thank him instead. Replies: he retired the key anyhow. Master with a fire reaction: after 10 years. Saintess says those taunts weren't Li back then, he wouldn't have intentionally taken the key. Master tells Li to not expect anything if he saves the trees. Li explains about the portrait he saw in the treasure trove that only exists in Moral Paradise. Li expresses that the face in the portrait has impressed him. The person in the portrait is the founder of Moral Paradise. The Moral Fairy explains that before the latter immortality was severed and a mortal descended mortality to the moral realm. The fairy is very beautiful with a charming personality. Many titans were moved and fought for the fairy. Fairy could not resist that and left the place for 9 provinces and never returned. Whenever she arrives, the conflicts start, prompting Fairy to employ her power to calm them. The ancient figure from the Tao sect approached her, proclaiming her as the embodiment of beauty in the heavenly Tao. Both mortals and immortals, like mere straws, found themselves unable to withstand the beauty of a fairy. The fairy established her moral paradise and named herself a moral fairy. Li says he has seen her, and she might have risen from the death, showing the beautiful picture of moral paradise. Li suspects the founder to be the person he witnessed in the Meng Jiang dynasty. Realizes she passed away a long year ago. In the 9 provinces reincarnation is known, but wonder if the dead person returning to life. Master and Saintess wonders if their founder is not an ordinary person. Li confronts being the outsiders and having no clue regarding their paradise founder's remains as they check her body remains in the tomb. Li revived the immortal trees and became a benefactor of paradise who hardly could be an outsider. The founder sealed with the crystal to prevent the body parts from being stolen, says Li. The fairy merely granted access, signifying her resurrection and subsequent departure, leaving her to fend for herself. Li thinks if Fairy was the one in the house, ask himself if dead people could be alive. Saintess wonders about the current status of the founder and asks if she has gained back all the memories. Master demands Jing Xian and Jiang to go back to the Meng Jiang dynasty and check the founder. Both reached the dynasty. Saintess was shocked to see the founder lying down. Jiang secretly witnessed Jiang and Jing Xian wondering how they directly see the fairy without even getting bewitched. Saintess feels the blood connection with the founder. Li remarks that's why she's able to resist the enchanting allure of the moral fairy. Moral Paradise is known for its 2 beauties. The master descends from the mountain and selects women whom he fancies as disciples. Another beauty is the peach trees from the Immoral Paradise. The newborns are naturally the Moral Paradise's disciples. The moral fairy likes to consume the peach tree. Saintess sees the fault closely and describes her beauty as incomparable. Saintess compares herself with the unique beauty of the fairy and tells her she is the one who comes every 5,000 years at once. Shows the image of a palace. Li says the immortal fairy is of great importance, and keeping her in the Meng Jiang dynasty could be beneficial. Ask mortals if she should be sent back to the Moral Paradise. One of the emperor angrily disagrees with this and says that she has been sleeping in the palace for 10 years. Li explains he knows the rules and if in disagreement he can serve some fists to them. Ask them to move forward to get some. The emperor denies having disagreements and asks if he could forgive them. Angry directions. Emperors say they all are the same here, and having a statue doesn't mean he is superior. Another emperor says their 2 dynasties are not ready to bow by any chance this time. Bird chattering in a smooth voice. What a sunny and happy day it is. An emperor lying down with pain tells summon the imperial physician and asks for help. Town named Shanna Town. Multiple figures are scattered. A figure named Du Shiner meditated trying to increase the spiritual power. Wonders why she is not being able to do so. She feels her body is like a leaking bucket and can't save energy at all. Remember her sis Jing Xian realizes she must be busy with her duties. The figure urged to learn more cultivation from Jing Xian. Another figure appeared, asking why she often talked about Jing Xian. She better not dare call her. Continue to call Jing Zinsoloof despite she is not very strict. Du Shiner completely disagrees with this. Du Shiner tries to ask the question about cultivation with Jing Xian. Replies what you want to learn. Miss I is having a conversation with Jing Xian. Jing she approaches Shiner to ask anything in the future, and Shiner greets Jing with a sad face. Shiner says Jing is a kind person. The doors open. Xing enters and tells the master to leave from here. Master is being taken away and dragged from the door. Master being thrown outside the palace by Jiang and Jing. React angrily says out loud you too. Master denies fighting back and says she was brought to the mountain by a previous sect leader. Master pulls Jing and says, the founder is mine. Li with a surprised reaction. Angry like a fireball, the master asks why is Jiang Li unaffected, and here she is being treated like an outsider. The mortal fairy is sleeping peacefully. Slowly opens her eyes. Li notices she is about to be awakened. The mortal fairy is about to wake up, and slowly opens her eyes. Crystals unseal the mortal fairy slowly. Jiang and Jing waiting for the fairy to wake. Fairy finally wakes up with flowy hair and jewelry on. Jiang and Jing witness the fairy greet and respect her, identifying themselves. Fairy asks Jing is a descendant of who she is and what about the emperor. Jing questions if she remembers anyone from the past. The mortal fairy just remembers waking up from the crystal, and if she was bound up by something else. Fairy remembered being free and walking down to the mountain, passing the riverside, and seeing the forest. The path got sleepier and she slept under the tree. After waking up, Fairy found herself inside the golden balls of a man, Jiang staring at her foolishly. She asked questions to Jiang, but he only passed a smile. Fairy found it dull and went back to sleep again. The fairy says, this happened several times, and finally got to see the new faces this time when she woke up. Jinag is concerned if she remembers anything from the immortal realm or the mortal world. Fairy tries to remember if she could sense anything. Jiang claims the fairy might have forgotten all the things after the resurrection or might have lost her memories from her previous existence. Jiang continues to think. Shows something in his palm that seems like a map. Ask if the fairy went through these two rivers, and show the map to her. Jiang and Jing in deep thought, hope if fairy will reveal anything. Fairly feeling sleepy, Jing asks her to take a rest. Jing and Jiang come out of the palace, and the door closes. Jing questions Jiang if anything he feels strange about. Jiang asked if they couldn't buy any spiritual grains after he took the treasure trove keys. Jiang says he retired the key for Jing's sake. Jing with a confused reaction asks for my sake. Ask her again if she has learned the lesson now, bringing people from the Mengjian dynasty and settling down there. Jing agrees to bring some mortals there. In the 9 provinces, each individual can possess. Thus, referencing those mortals suggests individuals who spend their lives unable to progress beyond the early stages of qi cultivation. Jing wonders if the mortals have been actively building and organizing their settlements in multiple locations. Li explains that mortals cultivate crops that have some special or mystical significance and are being supplied. Li continues that the problem is the fairy traveled through 2 towns openly and that people didn't notice her. Jing says the founder was lost for more than 2 or 3 years. Considering the location of the tomb chamber, Li suspects nobody saw her. Goes into deep thought, realizing it's nearly impossible to pass through the town unnoticed. Jing is surprised to know that it's possible also each town to have a guarded by Golden Care Stage junior sister. Questions about the spiritual grains from the 2 towns being of excellent quality. Jiang says they overlook the problem instead of confronting it, and accept it rather than denying its existence. Goes away angrily, leaving Jing down there. Jing seems worried, takes out the book, angrily throws away the book claiming it useless. Go away talks to herself, released from being scammed over the book given by the master. A book lying down on the ground. The master goes near the book, picks it up, admits she wrote it for herself, not for others. A sunny day, busy day, people are roaming all around. In the other town, Jiang and Jing ask how the fairy didn't influence anything here. Jiang questions if the place lacks any sign of life. Even the passers, merchants, sees the people and assumes that they all are dead. Jing assumes that the people of Upriver Town must all be dead, which is why they weren't influenced by the fairy's beauty. The scene portrays Upper River Town, with people walking here and there. Jiang and Jing enter a hotel, and a waiter asks if they are new to the town. Waiters see Jing and ask if she is the fairy from paradise. Jiang gives spirit stones to the waiter in exchange for questioning him. The waiter denies receiving it and says they must be reputed visitors from the moral paradise. The waiter goes away from the table and shows no hint of stiffness. Jing checks her spiritual sense. The Gourm controls his actions and thoughts, the highly skilled training of corpse control. Jing spells the Gu tribe's unique method of corpse control. Jiang asked if the waiter had seen any fairy passing from the village. The waiter accepts seeing a beautiful girl passing by the town probably 2 or 3 years back. People went crazy to see her, even skipped their meals. Some also tried to see her but were stopped by the Fairy Yuan. Li asks Fairy Yuan, Jing replies, the one who guards the town. Fairy Yuan is a member of the Gu tribe. Jing says, we wanted to know if Fairy Yuan was attracted by the mortal fairy. The waiter asks Jiang to speak slowly as Fairy Yuaning doesn't accept such. Fairy Yuan's expression remained the same seeing the mortal fairy. Jing asks, not being from the descendant of the mortal paradise, why wasn't affected. Jiang drinks tea and tells the waiter that he is dead. The waiter cluelessly asked what he was talking about. Jiang said he was joking, keep on doing your work. Jing still wonders, seeing no effect in Fairy Yuan by the allure of mortal fairy. The Gu worm's cultivation stage makes the townspeople act alive, which exceeds the capability of someone at the golden core stage. Impressed by the technique of keeping the corpses, admit only people from the divine transformation stage would anything missing. Jiang sees the world from different angles, accepts it's not the thing, only the Gu tribe will use the Gu worms. It's a pity the Gu tribe declined and chose seclusion. Li asked Jing when was the last time she visited here. Jing replies, the divine from the cultivator's stage does not require food and spiritual grains are minor issues for them. The sect only removed those with no hope of living and allowed the golden core to stay there. They believe the single nascent soul stage overseeing the 88 twins would prevent any problems. Li says the new problem is about to begin. Jing replies that being her responsibility, wants to see the Yuan Ling. Li uses his spiritual sense and says she is not here, complaining the town lacks the aura of the Golden River Core. Li senses the Golden Core River to be in lower and tells Jing it must be among them. Jing recognized the junior sister Du Shiner to be in the lower river town. Li and Jing reached the entrance of the lower river town. Du Shiner meditating. The tired face of Du Shiner realizes her power still hasn't increased. Talk to herself, and assumes she is just a burden staying there. Jing goes near and asks, who said you are a burden? Du Shiner sees Jinag and Li standing over them. Happy to Jing, Du Shiner expresses she is glad to see her after a long. Du Shiner says having a problem with the cultivation and wants to take guidance from her. Du Shiner and Jing hug tightly. Jing says it is her fault she neglected her duties. Du Shiner mentions Jing being serious over this. Keep of hugging. Jing apologizes to the junior sister. Li watches the sisters reunite from the side. The upper town has not just become the city of death but the lower town as well. In the lovely reunites of Du Shiner and Jing, Shiner asks her to stop crying. Shiner wonders who the man Jing came with, and asks to introduce them. Jing with a big smile, Jiang, the current emperor. Gasping, Shiner questions if he is the same emperor Jing often talks about. Shows Jing's eye full of love. Shiner couldn't stop praising Jiang for being the strongest in the 9 provinces and continued to talk about his capabilities of reaching heaven. Li says once he assumed being capable of doing everything but realized he was unable to ascend to immortality. Disappoints on his face, say he couldn't reverse the cycle of death, calls him mortal. Li diverts the communication and says he couldn't find Yuan Ling. Being confused, Shiner reveals not sure about her appearance as she often gets lost for months at a stretch. Yuan might retire in the next few days for the fall harvest. Li and Jiang face each other. Both agree to be accompanied by Shiner and stay in the town for some time. Shiner being happy to learn cultivation. Shiner wants to learn cultivation from Li. Shiner with a sad face reveals that she is stuck up in the golden core stage and mentions why is it this hard though. Li tells Shiner to slow down and wait for the gradual progress. Shiner being motivated shouts she has regained a bit of confidence. Li thinks about how someone dead could advance in cultivation. The full moon nights with a million stars. Li from the top of the hill tries to contact Zhang Konghu. Li tells Zhang to take a tour of the southern border to find out Gu clan. Zhang questions why he needs them. Replies, to investigate about the cultivation level that allows the dead to move freely. Li demands to move fast. Jing questions Li can use his senses to check the other towns, as she can sense the upper and lower river towns. Li checks and claims that everything is well in the other town. Jing was curious to know if he could sense all the 8 towns with his spiritual sense. Jing wonders what if there are many twins, is that possible to sense them all? Li sense Yuan returning. Li tries to stay focused and sense it more. Yuan Li comes from somewhere. Tiredly, Yuan expects to drink more booze with more spirit stones. Yuan reacts angrily. Yuan Lin bangs solidly on the ground. Furiously asked, how dare he do that to her in the mortal paradise? Jing asks where have she been without returning for over a month. Li sees closely to Yuan Ling, realizes why she was not affected by the mortal fairy. Yuan recognized Jing and asked how did she get there. Yuan gets down to the knee and started explaining she came to the Mengjiang dynasty to have fun and assures she has always come back for the fall harvest and been on time to deliver the spiritual grains on time. Jing with an angry reaction says that is for sure because there have been no issues with it and no one is here to check that. Gets gets angrier. It would have been better if there was an issue with the spiritual grains, and it would have been easy to know the problem of these two towns. She shouts and asks why there isn't anyone living in either the upper or lower river town. Yuan, with a tired expression, asks if she knows everything. Yuan admits to taking a small portion of the funds for spiritual grains to travel to the Jiang dynasty, which requires spiritual stones. Yuan claims many troublemakers denied working with her for giving few spiritual stones, lost her temper and took the life of a few farmers. She was threatened to report to the section. Yuan ended up killing every one of them, afraid if the sect would find out she used the Gu Warn to control their lives and cultivate spiritual grains. Jiang asks if she did all this to hide the crime. Qi becomes angry upon hearing her. Jing shouts at her and asks what about her sister Du Xiner from the lower town, and wonders how she could do that to her. Yuan reveals that she killed her younger sister as well because Lower River Town was close to Upper River Town, so she had no choice but to wipe out everyone. Yuan declares that people can still cultivate without relying on spiritual stones, and they no longer need to offer them as tribute. Jing realizes that she used all the spiritual stones given by the sect for her pleasure in the Jiang dynasty. Yuan Ling controls all the undead using Gu worms, but the townspeople already have one in their dantian and mind space. The Gu worms in the mind space control the thoughts. Yuan Ling begs for the forgiveness promise to turn over a new leaf. Xing says there are no more chances and asks if she still hasn't been released, revealing that she is already dead too. Li claims that Yuan Ling is being controlled by the Gu worm and is completely unaware of it. Yuan asks how is possible she is dead, wondering if Jing Xian is trying to scare her. Li says that Yuan had no clue about her status, so telling her anything is probably not worth it. Li connects the dots. First, Yuan killed everyone and used the Gu worms to puppet them and keep the production going. Yuan's skill is only able to manipulate the corpse and can barely control its movements. And then someone used the same skills on her and fixed the consequence, implanting a Gu worm into everyone to control their thoughts. Hence, townfolks don't seem different from the living heads. The person from the nascent souls is also unable to find the difference. Wondering how can this be ended, Jing asks Jiang to give them some time and stay a bit far for a moment, getting frightened by her reactions, and agrees to stay miles away from her. Dark night with cloudy weather. A big sound that scares the birds. A bloody head lying on the ground. Seems like Jing did something daring. She cleaned up the messes. The body of Yuan is cleared up and the place looks clean now. A full moon night with millions of stars. Li waits for Jing miles away, and thanks him for staying up for him, noticing if something is happening with Du Xiner. Both reach the house of Xiner, a big barrel full of spiritual rice. Xiner stayed there cluelessly, filling the big barrel of rice with a bowl of spiritual rice. The process continues. Xiner seems something unusual. Her fractions are odd. Jing and Jiang notice her from the side, assuming Xiner is clueless about them. The townsfolk process the spiritual grains into rice and claim it to be spiritual rice. The task is supposed to be done by a dedicated person. Xiner just has to supervise them. Wondering why Xiner is making the hassle of mixing these barrels into rice, Jing claims the barrel is just full of ordinary spiritual rice. Li advised Jing to check the barrel of rice with her spiritual power. Realize this might be a burden for her. Jing wants to do it and asks why Li is assuming all this about her. Using spiritual power, and the barrel resists the power, and trying with more pressure. Jing tried it harder and with more power. He lays down with pain, identifies that the barrel is not full of rice instead of the Gu worms. Li handles Jing and asks what are you doing? Jing expects the barrel of rice to mix with the pile of rice, but Li denies having such rules in the moral paradise. Piece of rice on his finger. Li asks do you know what is this? The Gu worms coming out from the rice. Jing shockingly claims that to be a spiritual rice. Li insists Jing stay outside until he chats with her senior sister. Opening the barrel, sees well-steamed rice bowl in his hand. Li says Du Xiner has been misguided, saying it is just a bowl of ordinary spiritual rice. Claims that of the process of making the Gu worm. Jing was shocked to see it, ask if these are the Gu worms. After cooking, the Gu worms remain vigorous and alive. The mixed spiritual rice has been feeding to the people in the moral paradise. Unknown about the functions of the Gu worm, Li says. Then, someone is calling Li. Jiang on the other side says he knew about the Gu clan. To make the dead walk like alive, someone has to be in the nascent soul stage. Jiang claims that the strongest are already in the nascent soul stage. To learn about the practice of the art of Gu, it needs to keep ancient tomes present in the ancestral shrine. Only outsiders can read the tomes that are guarded closely. Jiang takes the tomes secretly. Li processes the things Jiang has been saying. Jiang reveals the heart-controlling Gu has been missing. They are hiding and leaving the mountain, expecting that they can warn to keep everyone vigilant. Li asks, the heart-controlling goo. Jiang accepts the fact this goo is terrifying. If someone swallows, they can reach the nascent or divine transformation stage. The master of gooworm can read the minds without letting them know. Showing a bowl of rice, and Li asks if this is the one you are talking about. Jiang accepts that one, silent in water and lively in fire. Questioning, where did he find the bowl? Jing shockingly falls in the ground. With a scary look, ask how long has it been mixing rice with the goo worms. Curious to know if any fasting elder sisters have eaten this, and ask how many junior sisters have consumed the rice. Asking again how many people in the moral paradise have the hearth-controlling goo worms. Master wondering why is Jing Xian not coming back after this many days. Console, she has gone with Emperor Jiangli, so there must be a problem. The worried master asks aren't they not here. A figure named Xian Ai appears. Master questions why she is here after being expelled from the moral paradise. Xian asks her to pay some greetings and seems upset. Master asks if she is still holding grudges after being exiled, wondering if she is trying to fight with her, and ask if she is still upset about the leadership. Xian reacts to being chosen even after being equally powerful as her. Master says, there is no place for such scheming and plotter like her, claiming her to be impure and heart-filled with only worldly desires who will not be able to win someone's heart. Xian asks winning people's hearts, and this is what you are claiming her to be. Takes it personally. Asking if she knows where Sister Qing Su searches, she goes everywhere after leaving the sect and accidentally comes upon or intrudes into the isolated territory of the Gu clan. To the Gu clan, whose members are limited to the nascent stage, someone like her in the integration stage is like a wolf roaming freely among sheep. Xian claims to learn whichever Gu technique she desires to take the one she likes. Master angrily asks, so you are here to take revenge after learning the Gu techniques? Xian denies it and states she started acting 50 years ago, from places you had never noticed. The picture of the dynasty. Li curious to know if the Gu clan mentioned any details about how it works. Jiang replies it works like other worms, either the Gu worm masters willingly lift the curse, or else the Gu worms inside the body have to be killed. Continuing to say that the heart-controlling goo doesn't work on those on transcend the tribulation stage. Li asks to cut off the call and explain more later. Jing Xian lying on the ground, Li tells the town people are still busy with their business, which means the heart-controlling goo worm hasn't been activated yet. Sect members are waiting for Jing to help them. Li says that with him, she can do everything, even turn things around. Jing agrees that nothing has been finalized yet and mentions that the puppet master has been lurking for some time now. If the heart-controlling goo hasn't been activated, hints they are waiting for the right time. Jing holds Jiang's hands and Li says mistakes can be fixed. Both hold each other and Jing thanks Li for all the support. The moral paradise. Master shouts and reacts to no heart-touching goo worms inside spiritual rice. Xian, after returning from the Gu clan, was eager to utilize the knowledge she learned, thanking Yuan Ling for inspiring her and saying her death was beneficial for her. A shocking reaction. Master realized she failed to realize the town people had been dead for these 50 years. Xian asks if the master wants to know how many people ate the cursed spiritual rice. Excited to show what she worked for, Xian's displays thousands of people, and Master asks if they are the one. Angrily noticed the two individuals at the integration stage. Fire in the hand. Master screams she regrets not finishing her in the one stroke back then. Yuan says she is not capable of fighting with the senior sisters, including Qing Su. Yuan, with a vampire smile, reveals they all are in her control by the heart-controlling GU worms. Daring to lay her hand once and complete each one of them, Master tries to attract Xian with the strike, controlling herself and puts her hands down. Xian tells the Master to not believe her and says what about pulling the hearts? Xian pulls out the heart. Master tries to stop her, while junior sisters cry for help from their leader. Master asks if she is controlling them or manipulating the disciples to call out this way. The dead heads of the junior sisters screaming for help, asking her to save her. Master asks Xian if she wants to take her position. Give everything to Xian in return, sparing the disciples. Xian once wanted the position, but she wants something else now. Jing and Jiangli, outside of the moral paradise, notices something is happening inside the moral paradise. Ask each other what is happening and why there is a protective foundation. Li wonders seeing the protective foundation in the moral paradise. Claims the legend GOP has it and never breached out. The moral paradise has been known for its mystique and stunning beauty since its establishment. Many have tried to sneak its beauty and caused harm, but has always been halted by the protective great formation of section. Jing assumes the Master will never lock her out and wonders if the formation has been taken by someone else. Xian, harming the Master, tells them they are late to reach there. Jing and Jiang witness the Master, Jiang being hurt inside the protective foundation. Jiang says she is surprised to see Xian behind all this. He sees the Ant Xian AI. Jiang questions why she is doing all this and asks if this is for the position of the section. Xian replies she doesn't have any interest in the position now. Jiang asks what you want then. Plan to continue with the goo worms for more than 50 years before making love. Xian knows the founder has been renewed. Xian wasn't allowed to meet her, so she asked the guard to make a portrait of her. Dead reaction. She reveals the moral fairy is beautiful. Many people in this world's charms transcend genders. Xian desires to take the beauty and power of the moral fairy now. Xian says if Jiang hadn't found resurrection off in moral fairy, the paradise could have remained peaceful for more than 50 years. Master, Jiang wants to blame herself for all the happenings. Jiang sees Master, Jiang in pain and calls her out. He opens a peerless azure lotus. Jiang tries to break out the protective foundation. She failed to do so. The formation is unscathed. Jiang tries to break the foundation with dozens of peerless azure lotus. Unusual movement in the moral paradise. Jiang is tired and can't skate the foundation with all her pressure and skills. Jiang and Li outside of the foundation's master, Jiang and Xian inside it. With a tired face, Jiang realizes there is no effect. Jiang asks if he could help it. Xian laughs out loud about the fact the protective foundation can't be broken as it was from the moral realm. Jiang asks if Li is known for lacking the skills in formations. Xian praises Jiang for his contribution to the 9 provinces and says she doesn't want to disrespect him. Warns Jiang to stay away from these or else he will be left with nothing. Jiang wants to save Xingyo for getting all the grudges and wants to start afresh. Master Qing agreed to the deal. With a powerful hand, Jiang touches the protective foundation. Thunderstorms, explosions, and lightning strikes were all around it. The foundation is being cracked. The foundation finally breaks, pieces scattered all over the place. Master Qing sees it. Xian doesn't like it and seems worried. Calls all the disciples. Xian asks Jiang not to move and warns all of them are implanted with the heart-touching goo worms. With one act they all can die. Asks if Li can act faster than her thoughts. Jiang doubts if he can guarantee acting faster than that. Xian says it's rude to say so because they care about the lives of the disciples. Xian asks them to promise on the oath of heaven and let her leave with the moral founder. Li takes out the swords and asks why is it necessary to be faster than thoughts. Angrily asks some disciples to commit suicide to intimidate Jiang Li. All the disciples start killing themselves. Li swings swords and kills all the goo worms from the disciples. Jiang, amazed, asks herself what she is doing with the swords. Xian notices without releasing the swords Li has killed all the worms. Li accepts having dull swordsmanship and knowing only one skill. Xian, scared by Jiang Li, gets down on the ground. Li explains the move-in called Heart Sword that airs in the thoughts and stops in the consequences. Between the process, the swords with the body. Li continues to explain that it was initially intended for renewing sinews and removing flesh, but adds that it is also effective for killing goo worms and saving people. Li says it is also suitable for Xian. Xian tries to explain something. Li demonstrates his sword skills, swinging with full force and beheading Xian. Li seems to relief, saying there was no need for special skills to kill Xian. A nice sunny view of moral paradise seems peaceful. Jiang and Master Qing see the dead body of Xian and tell them that has come to an end now. Li begs sorry to Jiang for overstepping in his bonus. Li expressed that he wanted Jiang to handle it but it was beyond her capabilities, so he had to come in between. Jiang gets to her knees and refuses to accept Li's sorry. Instead thanks him for saving the moral paradise through this ordeal. Jiang offers her body in return and says she has nothing to give in return. Jiang Li and Master Qing get confused over what she said. Li says her heart is unburdened being able to joke right now. Li warns Jiang to be more vigilant and warns them that Paradise is about to become a puppet section. Li accepts to keep all the things that happen secret. Master Qing settles the past flights with Jiang and accepts he is the savior of moral paradise. Qing is saddened and says without Li Paradise could have been part of a joke and she could have nailed in pillar of shame in moral paradise. Jiang and Qing are grateful for Jiang's favor and express that the favor will be always remembered. Li goes to the lower river town to meet Xinar. Xinar asks if everyone is infected by the goo worms. She now realized why she was unable to progress in the cultivation stage, being dead all along. Li tries to say something. Li says both Upper River and Low River Town were littered with copies, being Xian AI the master of the goo worms. Du Xinar is a golden core cultivator, so she could hold longer but not that much. Xinar asks if Jiang hasn't come and wishes to meet her, slowly closes her eyes. Jiang appears there and says she is here to meet her. Xinar couldn't last longer. Jiang asked her to open her eyes and see her. Jiang remembers Xinar asking about the cultivation the last time they met. Jiang gets emotional and tells her the explanation is not over yet. The big kingdom of the Dao section. Li gets inside the Dao sect, a figure requests him to wait there for the sect master. The Tao sect appears and asks Jiang what brings you here. Jiang replies he wants to have a long-distance talisman on behalf of the moral paradise. The sect master agrees. The sect master appears, and Jiang wonders about having the painful reaction of asking a long-distance talisman before. Jiang notices the sect master is happy to give it this time. Li questions. There must be something else behind his smile. He smells something unusual. The sect master tells the sect has pronounced a young talent and he is very pleased about it. Li says that for you to see someone as a promising talent, they must be impressive, and Li seems curious about their abilities. Asks if nothing birthers he can also witness them. The sect master says this would be great if Li could see them. As a guardian of the 9 provinces this feels like an achievement, he added. The sect master agrees and says Li is also familiar with the young talent. A figure, seething with anger, commands Jiang Li to take the token and strides away with the authority of a Tao sect member. He asks Li why didn't he show respect to the sect master by bowing his head. Li smiles shamelessly. In some recaps, Li shows the Tao sect token and introduces himself as Jiang Li. The master in shock asks if he is the representative of the Tao sect, and wonders if he has never heard the name Jiang Li before. Someone shouts from the kingdom, saying, I'm at odds with Ji. Back to the moral paradise. Jiang Li meets Master Qing and Jing and hands them the long-distance communication talisman. Jiang asks them to inform him if there are any updates about the moral fairy. A moral fairy is a celestial being with deep cultivation from the upper realm. Master believes that if the fairy stirs up anything, only Jiang can handle it. Jiang asks to keep the secret about the moral fairy or else her charm leads others to problems. Jing and Master Qing agree with Jiang's suggestion. Li without wasting time decides to travel to the Great Zhou. Jing asks if he is going to see the Zhou dynasty or Ji. Jing asked Li if there was something strange with the Zijai in the Tao sect gate. Jiang denies it and asks her to not follow and spread such rumors. Jiang Li mentioned traveling there for a small work. The system appears with a notification. Congratulations to the host for using wisdom and sweat to defeat Yunbo. Would you like to claim your rewards? A system mentions the rewards are a chance for profound enlightenment, a high-grade spiritual artifact of any design, upgradable, a piece of a mysterious map. Li claims the rewards. The system shows the remarks, but Li finds them irrelevant and asks for the button to forward them. The system asks Li to select a high-grade spiritual artifact. Li chose a Swiss Army knife. The system denies having such a Swiss Army knife and asks him to choose something else. Jiang Li replies with an AK-47, but the system denies having that too. Li continuously asks for tanks and Neef, but the system keeps on saying no match has been found. The system says, there is a match for the spiritual artifact, Bloodbath Cleaver. The system explains it is a high-grade spiritual artifact that draws vitality from the blood when bathing in copies of blood that can be upgraded to the medium-grade and magical artifact. The system assists and it says it will work in blood drop bonding. Li seems amazed about it. The system asks not to doubt its professionalism. Li bites his finger. Then he pours the blood into Bloodbath Cleaver. The Bloodbath Cleaver speaks and comes up with some upgrades. With the sound of a huge explosion, Li questions the system's professionalism. Li tells the system that he doubts about the blood drop bonding earlier but doesn't believe him, so this is worth calling the system useless. The system asks him to accept the map fragment host. Li asks if the system is playing with him. The system tells Li that he has acquired one piece of the Qianyuan Secret Realm map, which is 1/3 of the complete map. To obtain the remaining pieces, you need to complete additional missions. Li opens the map. Li says he has received the complete map, which shows the secret realm. The system pops up the message congratulating the recipient on discovering the Qianyuan secret realm and informs them that the rewards for subsequent tasks have been changed. Li asks if he is imagining or if he just detects the strong function of the system. The system mentions the mission is dangerous for the host. The mission says to explore after reaching the nascent soul stage. Li asks for the next mission. He seems unhappy with the previous one and says he is not interested in it. The system requests Li to wait patiently. Meanwhile, Li asks if they can directly go to the next mission. A sect master on the talisman asks if Jiang Li is available and mentions he forgot to mention something last time. Li gets irritated and says they haven't yet gotten connected and he is forcefully trying to project him. Li questions what. The sect master scolds him for being the reputed Tao sect's representative and talking to him in such a manner. Li gets confused and asks, the Tao sect master tells us about the heavenly seal being refined again and adds that it is less than a year away. The Tao sect master asks Li to support him as the reigning human being in the appraisal conference of the artifact. Li replies, the Yin-Yang heavenly seal, of course. The Tao sect master seems excited about it and says, he will send him the invitation as soon as it is started and makes a deal to let him sit in VIP. Li thinks this is a big deal and the Dao sect masters might be busy preparing for it. The founder of the Dao sect is known as a Dao ancestor. Sharing a title with another immortal realm would supposedly invite the wrath of heaven. People believe that he is the true reincarnation of a Dao ancestor or a calamity body bearing among others. The Yin-Yang heavenly seal was forged by the Dao ancestor. Once completed, it becomes an immortal artifact. Its power is boundless and is Condor's the foremost treasure of the Nun province. After the Dao sect ancestor ascended, he left the Yin-Yang heavenly seal in the 9 provinces as a treasure to stabilize the Dao sect's fortunes. The magic of Yin-Yang's heavenly seal lies in its ability to refine itself. Each refinement increases its power by 1 level. Li realizes he refined his power 300 years ago. Since then, he had missed the chance to know an immortal artificial itself. Li says, "This might be early for that. Also the system is quiet." So Li decides to engage in secluded cultivation, reducing the insights gained from the recent crossing of the heavenly tribulation. 2 months later, a system arrives with a notification about the opening of the secret realm. Only those under 35 bone age and the foundation stage and be a part. Huayan sect has 1 spot, and after defeating Yin Bo, Li earns the spot. Further explanations that others can see that Li is only at the middle stage of the foundation building and scoff at him stage. The system asks Li to seize the crown. The system says the mission can be declined. Li is breaking from the foundation stage. The system gives the mission reward to Li and asks him to unlock the spatial teleportation capabilities, unlock the origin point reading capabilities. Li expects to pass the mission. The Heaven's secret mansion, multiple figures scattered. People having conversations. The one says when the topic is about information nobody can beat him. Another figure says the Great Zhou's Heaven's secret mansions have once again taken the great spot. The first figure laughs, recalling the jealousy of the masters from other branches. A boy runs closely and says, "Jiang Li the human has entered there." The master asks why Jiang is here. They don't even cultivate the demonic path and price with a conscience. Pole asks if their secret mansion has offended the human emperor. A figure wonders, seeing the master in panic. In the past, the map of the 9 provinces had many errors, and users may get lost and stroll over the traps. 100 years later, the human emperor, Jiang Li, redrawn the map. The map to the Heaven's secret was sold to the human emperor at a very high price, piece by piece. People discuss and say that Heaven's secret mansion tried to block Li naturally. Further discussion, Jiang Li was at the Grand Ascension stage and was unafraid of the Heaven's secret, gathering various lords to produce a map of 9 provinces that is more detailed than the map of Heaven's secret mansion. The Heaven's secret mansion could only stand by as the human emperor sold it for a price within everyone's reach. The mansion lost its greatest revenue, but the burden of the maps was ended. Surprising, he acknowledges Jiang Li's skill and asks why is he not honored with merits. The figure says the human emperor was guarded by 9 provinces and should have received great merits. A man proposes the theory, mentioning that the heavenly ladder missing. The 9 provinces post the connection from the immortal realm that ended the absence of merits from the heavens. Adding more, the figure says Jiang Li might receive huge merits in the future. Jiang Li is being welcomed at the inspection visit. Everyone bows down, surprised to see the human emperor. Looking at the welcome ceremony, Jiang Li wonders if he is here for the inspection duty.